Welcome, everyone. And before we jump into the questions, of course, I need to introduce our speakers for today. So I will start with Oyvind from CIC Hospitality. Hello, Oyvind. Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Maybe can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the CCO of CIC Hospitality, co-founder as well. We're quite a relatively new company in the hotel scene, live from 2018. We have more than 30 hotels in operations today in different brands. We're a white label operator. My job, of course, is to get that top line in place as cheap as possible and scale the business with technology, automation, while trying to keep the guest experience personal. I think that's one of my main targets.
Perfect. It sounds like a task with a lot of angles, of course. So we're going to hear a little bit more about that during the session. Welcome, Oyvind. And now I want to introduce our next speaker. Let's say hello to Anne from The Usual. Hey, Anne, how are you?
Hi there. Happy to be here. My name is Ann Williams. I'm the digital marketing manager for the Usual Hotels. We're a purpose-driven brand. We're actually younger than CIC with locations in the Netherlands and Belgium. I have about 15 years of experience in purpose-driven organizations like the Usual, and have been with the Usual since its conception 5 years ago. I was really drawn in by their commitment to a strong positive impact in changing travel for a more responsible and sustainable future. Right now, I focus on all guest-facing digital products as well as all as digital sales on non-OTA channels.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Anne. And we're going to also hear a little bit more about your challenges and how you're tackling them today in our session. And last but not least, I also want to introduce Heiko from Ruby Hotels. Hello, Heiko.
Hi everyone. Hi Jonas. Thanks for having me. I'm Heiko. I'm working as a digital marketing coordinator for Ruby. We are a Munich-based company with 20 hotels, more than 20 hotels across Europe, and more in the pipeline, of course. And our lean luxury philosophy means that luxury where it really matters and efficiency where it makes sense for us, making stylish stays both contemporary and affordable. And in my role in the CRM department is to translate our philosophy in our guest communication, making sure that the online experience feels just as personal and creative as the moment our guests step into a Ruby hotel. So actually, that's one of my first webinars, so I'm really excited to share a bit of what we've learned at Ruby and just excited to hear from the other speakers and the question of the audience and to today's discussions.
Absolutely. I'm also excited because this panel is so diverse as well. And we have three great brands. So we are going to hear firsthand about what's working, not working, what is the future might look like for marketing leaders in hospitality. So we're going to discuss all that today. I just want to remind our audience a few house rules. Please ask as many questions as you want. Of course, we've prepared some questions that we will discuss, but this session is made for you to ask questions and get answers, examples, and so on. So just leave them here in the chat, and then we will start asking our speakers as well and go through those questions too. Before we get started with the question, I do want to hear from our audience. So we're going to launch a short poll to hear about your current marketing challenges. So let's go with the first poll first. Okay, so what is your number one marketing challenge right now? Let's put it on screen, please. Perfect. So you have generating direct bookings, personalizing guest experiences, proving marketing ROI, managing limited budgets, resources, keeping up with technology changes, balancing brand versus performance goals. I know as marketeers, because I'm a marketeer too, we have different challenges. So actually, I could just tick all of them. But what is your most pressing challenge right now? Let's see what we have so far. generating direct bookings. Okay, that's a big one, of course. And then in the second place, we have proving marketing ROI. Okay, let's give it like 30 more seconds. What do you guys think, Oyvind and Heiko? What would be like your number one if you had to choose one?
I think they're onto something. I think the whole hotel industry is quite occupied on getting direct bookings to get that distribution cheaper, and that's might be what myself and I probably a lot others are hammering on to on marketing to create that demand on own cheap channels.
Yes, agree. And we can see it's actually the main response. So we can stop the poll now. And thank you so much for participating. And let's go into our first questions. Perfect. So the first question for today is for Heiko. So Heiko, let's talk about challenges. What's the most common pushback that you get from leadership about marketing initiatives? What can you
Um,
share with us?
in general, about our marketing initiatives, maybe you heard it earlier in this year in the press, of course, that earlier this year IG acquired our Ruby brand. Means for us that our strategy we had set for 2025 had to be adjusted. And for me, that shows out how dynamic hospitality can be and things can change quickly, and marketing has so to adapt just as fast. And of course, it was on your poll. One of the biggest challenges we often see from leadership is that marketing isn't always viewed as of course, as a profit center, and it's easy to see sales or rooms revenue directly, but marketing is often seen as a cost without a clear line to income. So the questions from leadership is usually what's the measurable impact. So, and that's really the challenge to proving what we do, whether it's the campaigns, the content, or guest communication, because these are drives not just awareness, but actually revenue and loyalty. So these are one of the challenges we are heading to.
Absolutely. So when things change like out of nowhere and you need to adapt and just try to see what can you do. Yes, definitely. I relate. And of course about proving ROI as well, because we know that's, I mean, marketing needs to do it. Yeah, you need to step up and you need to show that you need to justify those expenses. So absolutely relate with that as well. Perfect. So remember, guys, that if you have any questions, please let them on the chat, put them on the chat, and then we are going to take them as we move with the session. Let's talk about short budgets, because I think everyone has experienced that. Budgets normally get tight and tighter. So, Anne, how do you get buy-in for new tools or for tech when budgets are actually tight? Maybe you can share what has worked for you in the past.
Sure. I think any proposition, especially when budgets are tight, has to be backed by strong numbers. Luckily, as digital marketers, we're fortunate that ROI, or our return on investment, is often straightforward to prove. If an investment delivers measurable returns, it's easier to justify scaling it. It's easier to grow. But of course, in hospitality, ROI isn't the whole story. We usually have to consider ROX, our return on experience, which is critical for a premium brand like The Usual. That we promise these seamless stay, effortless stays, these premier guest experiences, and that's critical. The good news is the numbers are there, but they're often in our operations. So we look for how we can grow in higher review scores, better guest feedback on in-app interactions, how many more pre-check-ins were completed, how many more upsell conversions we experienced. These are things that may not normally fall on our GA4 dashboard, but they are things that help us measure critically with metrics our return on experience. Being able to share those, they're not just about financial return, but this improved guest experience that pays off in the long term. Technology takes care of these transactional moments, and then our hosts are freed up to focus on creating memorable human moments that really drive the kind of brand loyalty that we're looking to build.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Those are
so
things that will pay off on the P&L, but it will also continue to deliver returns for years.
perfect. So if I understood correctly, just to see if I'm following, then what has worked for you in the past was to be able to back up this like request with numbers, basically what you can.
Always.
Okay, okay, and then
We're a
going.
bit of a startup. We're only from 2020. So starting off heavily investing in things that we know will deliver a return on investment is logical. But knowing that we want to build a brand that lasts means that we also need to budget for ROX.
Yes. And then, so what you advise is that not just share like the basic metrics, but actually go beyond that and look into your return on experience, right? The ROI.
Exactly. And sometimes the metrics that show how well marketing is working also lie with other departments. So making sure that you're well connected and that you have an ecosystem that really works together will help you see where those returns are coming in.
Absolutely. That's such a nice, such a good advice. Seeing how you can tie your metrics to other departments just to make it more evident that that's an important decision, right? That it's going to affect other departments, not just marketing.
Exactly.
We have one as well to kind of get into that, but we do a lot of pilots. Like we try out new technology or tech to kind of get the proof of concept. This being one of them, of course, and then you can scale later when you can see the result. And what I see with marketing, because I might be the one that kind of push marketeers to get that ROI or ROAS. Sorry about that. And then one of the things I've done there is to try to influence that on both revenue and cost. Can I save some cost somewhere, and can I attribute some revenue here? And then you can get that mix to say that this is the end result of getting that tool.
Ha, so
absolutely.
go ahead.
Absolutely. When we're looking at our ad structures, it is easy to immediately go to this the IRI, the numbers that we have on our dashboards. But of course, net profit at the end of the day will always be the definer of whether or not the investment is worthwhile.
Yes. So adding also not just, I mean, not just what you will get, but also what you're saving, right? That's another perspective to keep in mind. That's so good. I hope everyone is taking notes because this might help you when you are asking for, if you're thinking about asking for a new tool, right? And you need to get the buy-in from the other, or from leadership or other departments. That's great points to keep in mind. Perfect. Okay, let's jump into the next question. This one also goes for Anne. So, Anne, maybe you can share in your role, what's a small change that you made that had an unexpectedly big impact?
And a seemingly small change that we made was tailoring our guest journey to specific business segments. We want guests to walk into the usual knowing that we have a variety of amenities, wellness classes, co-working. There's a lot going on. And at the same time that we're a purpose-driven brand that has these missions and values we're very proud of. And this is an awful lot to communicate, and not everyone needs all of this information. So, and additionally, in this day and age, guests expect increasingly personalized communications. By customizing by room type, by business segment, it means that we're able to make sure that not only are our backpacker guests who are staying in our more affordable pods aware of our grab and go breakfast, but also that our corporate travelers who are in our long stays for a week or more know that they can rent a meeting room, connect in our co-working, and join an event that maybe only happens once a week. By segmenting, we want to make sure that everyone has something to offer, and that it includes our missions and values to make travel more sustainable with our guests long before they get in the door. It allows us to share these inspiring stories, but also not burden them with information that they frankly don't need. And it keeps that experience as streamlined, as seamless, and effortless as possible.
Yes. I love that. And maybe could you share some of the examples of this, the different journeys that you created, like the different types of guests or that you guys have?
Absolutely. So, like I said, we have our pods, which is our capsule collection, and this is really designed to make travel more sustainable for everyone. That we have these smaller rooms at a lower price, but it also means that people's budgets are often smaller. So we create special meal deals, F&B offerings, which are more accessible to them. And at the same time, we do have spaces that can be booked. We have wellness classes that can be booked. So for people who we know are staying in our long stay studios or have booked for 4 or more days, they're more likely to receive more communications that include calendars, that include events, these sorts of things that otherwise people they can see in our elevators, they can see when they're on location.
I love that. A small tweak, but you're doing such a like it's such an impact on personalizing the whole stay for them, right? You're getting just the info that you need or the one that might align more with your needs. Super, super good. Thank you for sharing. Let's go to the next one then. Okay, so this one is for Oyvind. If you were starting from scratch with a new property tomorrow, what will be your first 90 days of marketing priorities? What would you ask for the marketing team?
Yeah, so we multi-brand. So I have this discussion a lot with the brands of Redson, Accor, Scandic, and such, and Best Western. But we have done this a lot. We have in a period during COVID, we took over a hotel each 6 weeks. So you kind of get some effort on what you need to prioritize. And the first 90 days, I would say, to get found is the most important things to actually be visible on all pages, Google, TripAdvisor, all the OTAs, get that distribution up and going as fast as possible. And then it's all about getting chosen, and that could be like what kind of pictures do you have, what kind of add-ons, all the guest way, how do you kind of tweak that to be preferred amongst the others. And then the last one, which we actually have seen gets a lot of more speed on our hotels, is that if we get good reviews in the start, it's so much easier to get up and running, and you don't need to funnel so much marketing tools or money or campaigns on different channels to get people to choose you, because you get those good reviews and people will choose you because of it. So yeah, that's those three things. It's something that we focus hard on when we get new properties.
Perfect. So a small recap, then distribution, then being chosen, right? So all photos, all information that you're putting out there, and third, reviews. Those will be the top three. That's super nice. And if anyone in our audience is going or is moving to a new property, is starting with a new property soon, then this is a short guide that you can use on like what to focus, depending on how your property is structured. Super good. If you guys have anything else that you would add, or that you think should be added to this list, please drop it in the chat, or if any of our anything else, and just let us know.
I think for me, the one thing I would add is making sure that the technological infrastructure is there, making sure that your tracking and measuring tools are firmly in place when launching, particularly when launching a new brand, making sure that you have metrics from the start, so that you can really correct for any issues that may arise early on.
Definitely, that's a nice add-on. So taking into consider, making sure that all metrics and measurements are set up, right? Perfect. Super good. Okay, let's go with another poll because we want to hear again from our audience and what do you guys think and what are your challenges of today and so on. So let's launch our next poll. Um, are direct bookings a top three priority? I mean, I think everyone has said yes, probably, but let's just hear from them. Because a lot of people said that it was one of their main challenges. But is it one of your priorities as well? Or how is it going? And actually, it's mixed. So, no, we focus more on total revenue. That's a great, great angle. Others, yes, it's our top priority. It is a priority, but not the top one. Perfect. It's very divided, and I think that shows how diverse is hospitality. Like all brands vary from each other. That's why maybe some advice will apply for you, but maybe it won't apply 100% for your brand, right? But it's so good that you get all of this inspiration from our speakers today and from all the resources that we are sharing. Let's leave it on for a few more minutes. But Heiko, if you would have to answer this question, what would you say? If you would have to answer this poll?
I would go with focus on more total revenue, because for us, if we want to go in different markets or have guests from different parts, I know, for example, for us, Booking.com is one of the main challenge that guests are coming to us. But for us as Ruby, it's most important if the guest coming from Booking.com and is then in our property, to convince them or telling him our Ruby brand, the story behind it, and convince him to be a Ruby guest in the future and book his future stays with us directly. So at first, to get new guests from different markets or everywhere around the world is Booking.com, for example. Then we got into total revenue, one of our main channels.
Hmm. Absolutely. Perfect. Okay, let's stop the poll now so we can continue. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and great to learn more about you guys that are connected. Um, let's go to our next question. And this is a question for the three of you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about guest communication, which in some hotels, marketing works with guest communication, while in others, not so much. But let's talk a little bit about this. So we all know that the guest journey doesn't start at check-in, right? We always talk about how we should focus on reaching guests even before they arrive at the property. So, can you guys share what has been your biggest aha moment about pre arrival or post stay communication that you think it actually moved the needle on maybe guest satisfaction or repeat bookings, or just, give you good results? And please unmute yourself, whoever wants to start.
I can start. So I don't know if I create a aha moment or not, but one of the biggest, we were always, seeing the funnel when you need to attract, and then the post stay and everything in between. But I think one of the most important things that's happened during the years is what we can do with everything, and how we can do it, so it's not so time consuming. I see lots of ancillary revenue, for example, that we have a lot of focus on now, which we can influence in that funnel. And a lot of loyalty and NPS, I think, is coming from that funnel as well. So I mean, getting more reviews has been really important to have that time. We have swapped, PMSs and guest communication tools, but to people that's doing a lot more with segmentation and do a lot more with the possibilities to upsell, to create a better guest experience, as Anne mentioned here. I wasn't aware of that, the KPI, but I'm going to use it from now.
Perfect. Super good. Thank you for sharing, Oyvind. And it's great. I love it that even among our speakers, we're also getting lessons from each other, right? So that's super. Okay, who would like to go next? Heiko or Anne?
I'm happy to go. My biggest aha moment, so to say, was realizing that it's not just what you say, because I really enjoy copywriting personally, but it's when and where you say it. We found that long, detailed information works best over email, but using quick conversational nudges were far more effective on channels like WhatsApp. And by diversifying these channels, we've been able to reach our guests. We've been able to meet them where they are, reach them when it matters. A great example of this would be our pre-check-in process. We have a pre-check-in process that we allow people to basically skip the time at the desk doing forms. Instead, if they want, they can scan a QR code and head straight to their rooms, or they can connect with our hosts in a moment that matters a bit more, learning about our brand, or feeling more personally welcomed to the city. But engagement wasn't quite where we wanted it. But when we added a simple WhatsApp reminder with a direct link that came in within 48 hours of arrival, usage rates skyrocketed. This not only removed friction with guests, but it created a more welcoming and personalized start to their stay. And when you start off with a smile, you're much more likely to have satisfaction, to have a good review, to have that follow up that we're always looking for.
Yes. I love what you said about it doesn't matter just how you write it, but when you say it and where you say it. I'm still in that one. Super good. Really, really good one. And I agree 100%. We always hear from some of our customers sharing how just trying another channel, trying to say the same thing, but on a different channel and maybe in a shorter way has just small tweak that got a lot of like good results for them. So really nice that example. Thank you for sharing, Anne. Heiko, what can you say? What can you share with us about your aha moment in the guest journey?
My aha moment was about not sending more communication, but sending the right message at the right moment. So, and making it relevant and useful as possible for the guest. For example, we expanded our My Stay page. This is like a page where guests could manage their booking themselves, update their data for registration form, and make it, for example, the check-in flow seamless. Because, like, if you know at Ruby, we have a self check-in, so means what really made here the difference is that we tailored our communication around it. For example, if you already have all the guest details, the message looked different than if we still needed information from you. So more personalized the message, and like I said before, the right message at the right moment.
Amazing. That's great. And that's what we always say on Book Boost without just talking about my brand, but I just wanted to highlight we always say that with us you're able to send the right message to the right guest at the right time. And I love that everyone is talking about that. So thank you.
I
Um,
would like to add one thing as well, that yeah, I think having the possibility to use swap channels like this as well makes it easier for us to maybe add and communicate to guests which are not doing direct channel bookings, because then we can kind of get that information from them in another place like WhatsApp or SMS, like Anne mentioned.
Perfect. Yes. And that's a reality because you will always have guests. Of course, they're not booking direct, they're coming from OTAs or other channels, right? So that's super good that you're able to swap channels to get that information. Okay, let's continue. And now we start into our final section before going into the Q&A, which is looking to 2026. So let's talk a little bit about the future. Heiko, here, if you had to choose just one channel to focus all your marketing efforts in 2026, what would it be and why?
Well, that was personally, it's very difficult to say it because I think the real impact in marketing comes from the synergies between the different channels we have. For example, we have social media as is essential for building brand awareness and inspiring new guests, while, for example, CRM allows us to create personalized data-driven communication and yeah, delivering the right message at the right time. And on top of course, you have like the search engine optimization and search engine advertising will continue. But looking ahead, generative engine optimization will become increasingly important and making sure our brand shows up in AI-driven search results and conversional engines. For example, we already had like a guest review that one of the booker told us he booked us because ChatGPT suggested us him, so you can see here that this market or the shares will increase, and that shows the potential of these new engines and why it's so important to prepare now. So rather than focusing on only one channel, the real challenge and opportunity in 2026 will be to orchestrate all of them effectively, ensuring each plays to its strength while supporting the others.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I definitely agree with that. I don't think in marketing it can be all or nothing or just like one main thing, because you have so many elements. So, of course, the formula for Ruby might be different than the formula for the usual or the formula that CIC hospitality applies to the brands they work with. But at the end, it's all a combination that is based on your brand, right? So, just choosing one channel. Might be a little bit limited or impossible, actually, if I'm being honest, right? Perfect. And now let's go into one of the most important questions of today, which is what do we think that is going to be the most important skills for 2026 for marketeers in hospitality? So I want to hear from Oyvind here, but of course, if anyone else has like a different opinion, please share it. So Oyvind, in your perspective or experience, what do you think it's going to be those crucial skills for 2026?
Yeah, I hope I don't sound like a broken record that everyone has heard here, but I think AI is going to be quite influential on how we use that to be able to combine it with us being the creative part, and then use the AI for more or less heavy lifting. To do those small things, as Heiko said, when so many people use it for getting reviews or getting suggestions where you can stay. We need to use it on the other side as well. So we use a lot of technology in all aspects, and it's all about automation and making sure that we use humans in the right way, if it's service wise or if it's in marketing or if it's in sales. My hope is that we use a human where it matters the most, so we get the most value from it. So I think using that tool, I think, is most critical for hospitality marketers.
Thank you for sharing. We heard it a lot, and I think it's because it will be important. Absolutely. AI is turning more and more important. But I think it's super interesting how, just to see that process, how marketeers in hospitality will actually start leveraging AI. It's completely different from how you do it in other industries. So that's also the challenge, right? How do you discover how to make it work for you in your industry?
Yeah, I think we were all prepared to say the same thing to that question effectively, as our lives are being so heavily disrupted.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, you're spot on. I also think that some of the skills that we're looking at that we need to improve upon that will be the hardest are our offline skills, our self-reflection and honesty. A lot of us feel that we know our brand to the core and that we've put the brand out there to the best of our ability, but making sure that someone else can find our brand in their own words and how our brand is actually being remembered by guests so that they can search for it again is requires a bit of critical self-reflection. How much of our communication is getting through so that it is memorable, repeatable, and that it's also, of course, indexable.
Yes.
But these offline skills are, I think, are one of the strongest reasons why marketing will be so hard to completely replace. When you think about search engine bidding, you think, oh, that that could maybe be automated, unless you know someone really good. But knowing someone who can tell how humans think, how they're looking for something, and making sure that the brand critically reflects that will be I think will be a big challenge for a lot of brands.
Yes, I agree. I really like that
Yeah.
example that you shared, Heiko, on the like having ChatGPT recommending Ruby, right? And
Mhm.
even the guests
Mm-hmm.
using it in the reviews. That's like super nice. And I imagine a lot of the people watching this webinar, that's one of the things that they're aiming and want to achieve, like to be just recognized and mentioned by LLMs, right?
Yes, but I think with all of these techniques, and is it important to combine all this data-driven precision with authentic storytelling we have in hospitality?
Yes, exactly. And that's the point. Like that's what AI cannot replace. Basically, it's
Mhm.
what you guys are bringing in that sense, that knowledge and that storytelling. Perfect. So now we want to open for Q&A. So if you have any questions, if any of you has any questions that you want to ask to our panel, so please feel free to put it there. We're going to give a few minutes for that. And in the meantime, I have a question. So, and I wanted to just ask you a question about what you share about, it's not how you said it, but where you said it. So what how do you decide what channel to use, for example, in that? Like, when do you say, like, okay, this might not be good for email, I will go for WhatsApp on this one? What's your criteria?
When I was initially planning, I remembered a few things. One, I hate receiving spam. So I knew it needed to be as streamlined as possible. And then I thought logically, okay, what is the timeline of our guest journey? How far out do they book? So what kind of communications do they need to hear from us? And when will they want to hear it? When you make a booking, you initially expect, your expectations are there that you'll receive a confirmation email and maybe something initially that you need to follow up or fill out on. That's when you can send a pre-check-in. But then about maybe 48 hours before you stay, you start thinking, oh, have I done everything? But by then maybe you're already traveling, maybe you're not checking your email, but you'll definitely have your phone on you. So this is a good time to migrate from that longer form content into a gentle conversational nudge. Hey, you're about to get here. We can't wait to welcome you. Let's make it easier for you.
Hmm. I love that. And I think I remember also from a past conversation, you mentioned that you found out that WhatsApp was also a better channel for asking for reviews, right? And then you did,
Absolutely.
they were, I think that you mentioned that it was because you sent it when they were on their way to the airport or something like that. Could you maybe mention about this?
Yeah, so just like sending that pre-check-in when I think they're on their way, I'm happy to send my review request, which to me as a marketer, certainly important. I want that to be filled out. I want to be filled out immediately, and especially while the positive experience is still fresh in mind. So that's something that I want people to react to. So I'll send it to a WhatsApp that I know that they are more likely to answer and do. An email you can close. You can say, I'll get back to this later. Maybe they have their out of office on. So maybe I'll put my survey there. But the review I need. So that goes by WhatsApp.
Perfect. Really good example. Thank you for sharing. So let's go with this question that we have here from Dylan, and let's answer now. So, which marketing tasks are safe to automate and which should remain human led to preserve authenticity? Any of you have any thoughts on this that you would like to share? What to automate, what not to automate?
That's the main question, though. So that's for everyone to find out, and I think that's going to be a lot of trial and error, like most of our journey to now as well. That we need to can see what things are we losing when we're using automated. I think AI, at least at the current stage, is a lot about taking a lot of data and make it understandable so we can make right decision and right strategies on it. I think that's the most we can get out of AI at the moment. But it's been used a lot on social media already. We do a lot of A/B and testing, and we do a lot of audiences on Facebook that we have done in the past as well, where we get them to do it for us. So I mean,
Mhm.
it's already there.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing. Let's go to the next question. When implementing a new digital tool to improve the guest journey, it's often difficult to measure ROI or define clear KPIs. From your perspective, which KPIs or ROI metrics reflect good results? Do you see these tools as an investment or already a must have? This is a question from Adrian. Thank you, Adrian, for your question. Any thoughts on this, guys?
Well, when it comes to identifying a new tool, usually it's because we see a room for improvement. So we know it's there. It really depends on what problem it's solving, whether or not it is an investment or a must have. But there are certain things that are just expected at this point in time. Things like guest communication can always be improved on. Looking at something like an AI chatbot, this is something that you can say. Not you can always ask whoever your software provider is or what have you, do you have any metrics that I can use to know what I should expect from the performance of this tool? And using that, you can set your own metrics. But good things to start with are just usage. You can also, if it's something like a guest communication tool, you can see how does this reflect how many emails the staff is getting, how does this reduce phone calls, how does this reduce staff labor, the hours that are spent on the phones. These are all things that can help you measure that, and start with base KPIs that are for usage, for click-through rates, and then move on to how do these benefit us financially.
Hmm. Perfect. Thank you for the examples. Let's go with another one. And if you have questions, we have around 5 more minutes to answer them. So now is the time to send them. Let's go with this one from Michael. Is anybody working with marketing agencies like specialized in hospitality? And if yes, what's your experience already with AI or GEO? Is any of you working with any agencies? Mm, no, it seems not to be the case, so we cannot share anything about
Like
that.
we do some banner ads and Amadeus and stuff like that, and we get some conversion on those ads, but not in the way he framed the questions. I haven't tried that. No.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, perfect. Okay, let's go with one of the last ones. Let's see. Wait, I cannot. Okay, now we have it. So you touch upon generative engine optimization as the next frontier. Beyond creating content, how do you see GEO changing the way hotels get discovered? For example, when guests are using AI assistants to plan trips, and do you think the bigger impact will be on how hotels show up in that discovery phase, or in how they communicate with guests once the booking is made? So basically, when do you think it will have the biggest impact? When they plan, or when they have already chosen and are communicating with the hotel?
I think when they're planning for sure. We've already seen the statistics of how few people book in a direct funnel now, moving from SERP to page to booking. It's now people for a while maybe they messed around on social media, but now people are going from multiple trip recommendation locations before placing a booking. But beyond creating content, I think the biggest thing that any brand can be doing here is identifying your niche. Everything has become a zero-sum game. I used to be able to just bid better, write better, and I would get myself on the page and work myself up the page. But if you're only getting one suggestion being spit out of a search engine, you need to make sure that it's the right suggestion. And if you're a smaller fish, then you need to know your niche to make sure that you are the right answer to the question that's being asked. And if you're not addressing that niche that you could be the answer to, then you will not come out on top.
Exactly. So to think about how they might look for you, right? How they might be
Exactly.
referring to you. Lovely. Let's go with the final one. Final question. Ooh, what happened? Oh, here. Sorry. Let's go with the final question. And this one is from Just. So, what is your top priority for chain hotels in terms of digital marketing versus independent? I'm working for or with both, but have many more opportunities and tools to work with for our independent hotels, such as SEO, than the chain hotels. Any tips? So top priority for chain hotels in terms of digital marketing. Maybe Heiko, can you share a little bit about this based on Ruby, since you guys are group and many properties around Europe?
I think for us, for Ruby, one top priority in digital marketing is usually consistency and scalability. Also the brand has to feel the same across all of our hotels, and a lot of the tools and campaigns are centralized. That often means less flexibility for individual hotels, but stronger power, for example, like in Ruby, and maybe or in the future with IHG, that we have bigger markets, and with the loyalty programs, brand recognition, and big distribution channels now. Also, we got to chain hotels.
Yes, I mean, it works differently for
Yes.
sure. So thank you so much for sharing that angle. We've now reached the end of our session. So I want to thank you guys for joining us today, to our speakers, and also to our attendees for all your questions and interactions. If you're watching this live, you got the chance to ask questions. If you're watching the recording, join us live next time so you can also ask questions. So thank you, Oyvind, Heiko, and Anne. It was great having you. And to everyone joining, we see you in our next webinar. Stay tuned, sign up for our newsletter so you know what's going to happen soon.